What's up? Welcome to episode 4 of EC's Garage. Today we're going to talk about 3 things that Toyota left room for improvement on the third generation Toyota 4Runner. Now for most of you, most people who bought these cars, look, Toyota's smart. They know what they were doing when they engineered this. They knew that most people were going to drive most of the time on mostly flat city streets. Like my car is a California car. It was first sold in Southern California, so this is what it's like. And Toyota knew this. So they overbuilt something and underpowered it, right? The Toyota third generation 4Runner came in 2 flavors. The 2.4 liter 4-cylinder with 150 horsepower, 177 pound-feet of torque. Not bad, but not a lot for a big, heavy truck, especially with a 5,000 pound towing rating. The other model was, of course, the SR5, which I've got, or the Limit or the Base, but the V6 came in automatic or 4-speed automatic with overdrive or 5-speed manual. Both of them did. Now, like I said, most people aren't going to notice these issues, but if you're watching this for my application, right, if you're watching this video, you're running into this also. Now, Toyota knew what they were doing when they engineered this. They overbuilt it and they underpowered it. So that's the first issue, power. If you're going anywhere, mountain roads, freeways with long inclines, places like Big Bear, things like that, getting up to 330, you're going to notice it. You're going to notice the issue with power. Now, the V6, mine's an SR5. V6 all-wheel drive. It came with 183 horsepower and 217 pound-feet of torque. Big improvement, but still, they overbuilt these cars. The engine, transmission, solid, but they also underpowered them. And if you're doing any type of driving like you and me are doing, you're going to notice it. So the first fix. Toyota knew what they were doing when they engineered this, right? Toyota, you maintain these, you drive them conservatively, you'll get between 300 and 500,000 miles out of the factory OEM stock engine without, head gaskets or rods or rings or replacing any of that. These are reliable. They did the, overbuilt, underpowered formula, which equals long-term reliability, which is what Toyota stands for. But when you get it off-road, when you start towing, when you start going up long, sloping inclines, you start to realize these issues. Also declines, we'll get to those. So I take mine off-road. I take it out with the dogs. We go hiking, remote spots. We go camping. Notice some of these weaknesses, and here's how you fix them. So the first, it is underpowered. Like seriously, we were going up to 330 once, and I had a passenger, gear on the roof, dogs in the back, and I felt like we started to roll backwards. Now really, the heat temperature started rising. I had to shift in the second and keep the RPMs at 4,000 just to maintain speed. So this is look, none of these issues or solutions are going to be a surprise to anybody who's owned these and does some serious work with them. You can do exhaust headers. There's the deck plate mod that some people are doing. You might even be able to change out the throttle body gasket because it's like a D shape. I'm sure someone's ground that out trying to get more power. Cold air intakes, I would stay away from those. Those tend to typically just screw up the power curve. Stay away from those, but people are doing all sorts of little things to try and add power. Nothing is going to give you the power that you want, but there's one solution. Now look, before I say this, if this had come with 212, 215 horsepower stock, I think that would have been perfect. And like I said, driving in city streets, you'll never know the power deficit in these, right? If you're just doing everyday driving, you'd never know. But the first thing is the Supercharger. Adds 25% horsepower and torque, and it is absolutely perfect. I'm using it right now with the stock fuel setup. I'm not using bigger injectors, none of the URD injector kit, nothing like that yet, but that's basically it. I just slapped this thing on. This is a 2nd generation Magnuson. Now Toyota offered this as a dealer option, I think beginning in 1998. The 1st generation Magnuson TRD Supercharger had some improvements were made. We'll say some improvements, not issues, but there were improvements made with the 2nd generation. Requires less maintenance. It's easier to maintain and change the fluids on, and it's pretty solid. If Toyota trusted it and they warranted it from the dealer, it's solid. And Magnuson's been around a long time. So this is the only way you're going to get the power that this should have come with, plus some, right? This has actually got more power than I think it needs. And it's not a whole lot. It's not really drastic. There are options. You can get a high boost pulley. You can change out the fuel system. URD makes some really cool 7th injector and also replacing all 6 injector. They make 2 kits. You can do that. You can also re-gear to help, especially if you got bigger tires. I'm running 32s now. I'm going to 33s. But the Supercharger, best thing you can do. It is expensive. If I had to do it again, maybe. I think definitely. Given what I'm doing with this truck and all the weight that I've added, the armor, the rear bumper, the skid plates, and the front bumper and rock sliders when they ever get here, probably going to change out the roof rack to something a little bigger. Definitely, with that weight, definitely worth it. So that's my issues with the underpowered engine, especially since I've added weight. I carry 4 big dogs, and we do a lot of off-road driving, and a lot of long-term freeway driving where we're going up steep inclines and things like that. Definitely noticed it. Now, the third issue, power's one of them. The third issue we're going to get to, I think, is resolved with the Supercharger, and possibly a better one of these things, which we'll get to, may have handled the power deficit a little bit better. The second issue, right, that I've had are with the brakes. Again, no secret, right? A lot of you guys have had this problem. You guys and girls have had this issue. The brakes, they're great for city driving, but as soon as you start going down windy canyon roads, even paved, I come down the 2 or the 39 from Angeles Forest all the time. I experience the same thing that you've probably experienced, which is a lot of brake fade, So warped rotors is another thing. So the brakes, they don't cool very well. So they fade and then they stay faded. They don't cool very well. They also warp. The rotors warp because of the heat. So I've had that issue, heading down the hill, hit the brakes and the steering wheel wobbles. Then your brakes are your brake rotors are warped. Now, like I said before, when I run into an issue and it's time to replace something like the pads, I just did the whole brake. So what I did, the best brake kit on the market, maybe even the only one. I tried things before like slotted rotors and ceramic shoes, and it may have improved a little bit, maybe improved cooling a little bit, but nothing drastic. And this is something I would absolutely do again in a heartbeat. I will do an installation review on this since I've already done it, which is the Tundra V8 brakes, right off the Tundra V8. I think it was 2006 that I used. They bolt on. All I had to do was trim the dust shield around the brakes a little bit with some tin snips and a Dremel just to smooth it out. And of course, I had these 6-spoke Toyota wheels, which don't clear the calipers on the Tundra brakes. So you either have to grind the wheels out or replace them. And I'll talk about that in another video, but I replaced them. I got the Pro Comp wheels with they have the offset that clears the brakes perfectly. A little bit of room, but that's all you need. So back to the brakes. Absolutely solid. This car should have come with those brakes in the first place. The Toyota Tundra V8 brakes, best thing you can do. First thing, if you do anything to this car at all, the first thing you should do is the Tundra big brake. It'll change your life. All right, the third issue, transmission. I like the automatic. I've got the 4-speed automatic. I like it. I prefer it off-road to a manual, especially on really technical or steep hills, technical trails. I think trying to feather a clutch and gas at the same time, it's just a lot of work, and you're going to burning through clutches. Now you make a bit more power to the road with manual, and usually get more gas mileage, but not in this case. Between the manual and the automatic, they're both rated the same, like 16, 19 or something. So the gas EPA ratings are the same. I prefer the automatic, like I said, off-road, but it is a 4-speed. This is back, and even the brakes, they could have put discs on the back in '99. This wasn't like revelation, but this is what Toyota did. They stuck with tried and true. This car was made for 6 years. They stuck with a tried and true design. They put reliable, pain in the butt sometimes, drum brakes in the back, and a reliable 4-speed transmission with overdrive. Probably wouldn't be such an issue if the car had just come with more power in the first place. Now with the Supercharger, I don't even care. I don't know what gear I'm in. It pulls in every gear. It gets me wherever I need to go, anytime, any situation, which is what I wanted. And really, like I said, the engine didn't even need this much power. If it just came with 25 or 20 more horsepower, it probably would have been a lot better. It would have been perfect. I think perfect. So the transmission. Nothing really you can do with that. I'm not aware of any software to make it shift faster or anything like that, but this is not a performance car. You don't need that. If you're going up a hill where you're starting to lose some power, turn overdrive off. And you've got the ECT power button too, which is mild, but the overdrive, that'll make a difference if you're driving up a freeway and you've got a long slope and you're struggling to keep up with traffic. Other than that, Supercharger and the brakes changed everything for this ride, and that's it. Everything else, I'm pretty happy with it. Really, I can't complain. So next video, I'm going to replace the rear sway bar end links. They look like they're original. They're going bad, so I'm gonna replace those. I'll do a video on that, and I'm also going longer. I'm putting the front on the rear, so check that out.